I was originally not going to cover this at first. Well, my plan initially was to cover this a month ago at around the time that it came out because I heard some very unsavory things about it. And I decided, nah, I don't want to be that type of YouTube channel that like talks about like other lefty like content creators and shit. But I don't know. I've decided that I'm actually going to cover this video this time because I don't know. And I'm not going to be like over vitriolic or anything like that. Of course, I haven't seen the video yet, like at all, but I want to see for myself what the content is going to be like. I'm going to be completely objective. I am not going to come at this hating it before I see the content. I will judge the content as I see it, and if I see something I don't like, then I will talk about it. That is what I'm here for. That's what this channel, part of what this channel is about, talking about things that I don't like. The shit I don't like. Anyway, what I find to be off about this video in particular is the title. I had a hard time trying to find this video because I looked at his channel and I scrolled through, saw content that was not what the video was. Come to find out, he changed the thumbnail and the title. Originally, this was called, like if you see in my search bar up here, it was called The Sissification of White Men. That was what the video was called initially when it came out. And then he changed the title and thumbnail to something else. I forgot what it was. And then he changes it back to Sissification of White Men. And now he changes it to this, When Porn Goes Woke. This comes off as extremely... I don't think this is bad faith, personally. But we'll see. Personally, to me, this comes off as him being extremely clickbaity for the sake of being clickbaity because he wants to get views. And to be fair, that's what I like to do. But I think it's just very off-putting that he just switches back and forth between like 3 different things. It's like his 3rd time doing this. It's very weird to me. I mean, like, choose your clickbait, my guy. And on top of that, the manner of clickbait that he decided to go with is kind of weird. But I'm not gonna judge just yet. But we'll see when we look at the video. So, you know.
This comment changed my life. It was leg day, and I needed my favorite pre-workout, but I was out of it. So instead, I read the filtered comment section. That was my first mistake. I saw the usual suspects. Tactical N-word variation in attempt to evade the comment filter, and this strange comment. Being the God-fearing, sexually repressed, and emotional constipated black man that my parents raised, I had never encountered this word before. So I put on my protection and began to search. And though my computer was protected, nothing could save me from what I was about to see. I would like you on a long black leash. I will parade you down the high streets. You've got the attraction, you've got the pulling power. Walk my little dog, walk my little sex dwarf. They all love your miniature ways. You know what they say about small boys. A word one.
Okay. Okay. That is my commentary. Okay.
Reserved for my hair texture has been added to the laundry list of culturally co-opted things at the hand of the hueless. That word is kink. Now that that's out of the way, I got a confession to make. You may be taken aback by this, but please don't go. Vocals. I regret to inform you.
Man knows how to say. Oh, we're off to a good start.
That I am fatally cis and terminally het.
How fucking dare you? I don't need to commentate on this video any longer. Cis and heterosexual? Oh, hell no. I can't tolerate this bullshit. Not in my black community. Oh, hell no, nigga. You better get your ass back to, fucking, from the Caribbean? Get your ass back to wherever the fuck you came from. Get your bitch ass up on out of here, boy. You don't take kind to your kind around here, motherfucker. Boy, I tell you what.
How hecklers the binary bimbos for and why?
Now, if you Quentin Tarantino and you hear the word kink, you probably thinking of feet. But other more cultured comrades
Rub your feet all over me.
indulge in more esoteric kinks that I won't list here because money. But there's a principle that I think most folks follow as it pertains to kinks. So long as the kink is between consenting adults and don't include a multi-marginalized communal casting of aspersions, then the kink is cool, which is a criterion that this particular kink fails flawlessly in. They call it Black New World Order.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm sorry, Lily.
Where are we going?
For STEM content, that was something that I used to consume. There's like some trans affirming stuff or some supposedly trans affirming.
I'm so confused right now. What the fuck is he talking about? Wait, black what?
What are you talking about? I
Stuff, but then there's just a lot of, oh my god, there's just so much racist, so much misogynistic, so much
What? I don't content. I don't know what it is. All right. I would like to know. I'm curious now.
Transphobic.
When I listen to white men complain about white genocide, I already know that they're watching Black Cuckold. Like, immediately,
Yeah?
it clicks to me because who thinks about that much, right?
Our relationship would never be the same again.
Oh, that's so true, bro. No, Cat Black is spitting on that one. I'm sorry.
This my cum-colored roommate from Bumbleclot, Iowa, while I was in college. He daddy looked like Doug Dimmadome, and his ma looked like she has called police on black children selling lemonade in the park. It only take 1 week for him to get all Catholic confession on me. Like, I mean, my man start bawling like Jordan Peterson. Now, I paralyzed with fear, cause whatever he gotta tell me, got him broke down like Mr. Vegas. So he dab up his nose, dry off the eye, and tell me that growing up, he was taught to hate blacks. From he say blacks, you know, as a noun rather than black people, I knew.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I agree. That's a very weird word to say. Offline and in person. Who the fuck refers to black people as blacks? I don't say that about white people. I just refer to them as whites, or like gay people as like the gays, or like the trans. It's so fucking weird to use language like that. All right, I don't know what we're talking about here. All right, what is the point of this video? What are we getting at? All right,
What I was getting myself into. Mind you know, this is the first week of college. I ain't even get the syllabus to some of my classes yet, and my boy done gone on a whole Dwight Yoakam on me. So I have an ultimatum. I can either shuffle the deck and get a roommate arguably worse than this man, or
wait,
insert.
what do you mean? Wait, that was a bad thing that he said blacks? Like, what? Yikesy language? That's enough to be like, this nigga needs to go. Did you just say blacks? I'm gonna get my shotgun. Get your bitch ass out of here, Nick. Sorry.
Dog meme, this is fine. And keep it moving, headphones in hopes that this man don't.
But like that, like it's annoying. It's pretty bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad. But like, to act like that's like the worst thing in the world, that you need to like this person is like morally wrong because they used the term blacks. Did I miss something or what? I don't know.
Don't try to ling me from my bunk bed like a wet pair of socks. Silly, naive, fresh off the boat, big body foreign. Yes, they call me that for some strange reason.
I mean,
Thought that just because he grew up like this doesn't mean that he's like this right now, right?
oh, is that what you're talking about? Oh, okay. Yeah, I am so ADHD. I'm too ADHD for this man. I can't watch his videos when I'm this ADHD. Okay, look. That is weird to like just come out and say, yeah, man, my parents taught me to hate the blacks. I mean, that's weird. It depends on the context, though. If you were like talking about racism, and like the subject of a conversation was racism before he came out with that, then I mean, I don't think it's wrong to say that. I mean, I've had like conversations where plenty of my white friends came out and just like, oh yeah, my parents are like super racist, or like, my grandparents are super racist, or I was taught racism, or my mom was really racist and then she came around, she understood black people and blah blah blah. I've had things like that happen all the time, like where the conversation was like racially, it was just we were just talking about race stuff for whatever reason, because conversations happen for all kinds of different reasons. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking so much that I end up having an asthma attack.
So you know the black proverb, if you don't laugh, you get cry. Or get David Lynch up. So I tried to make light of the situation by saying that I understand, you grew up in Dubuque, Iowa, literally Clan country. We had a hearty, nervous laugh, and I began to think that we'll get on like a house on fire. Probably the worst analogy I can make here, but
That's not a bad thing. I'm sorry. Just for a white person to say, like, yeah, I used to be super racist, like, that's not. To me, that's not a cause for concern, because why? They said they used to be racist. Like, I'm in just as much danger around them as I am around any white person who doesn't say that they, honestly, I'd be more afraid of a white person that doesn't say that they were or are racist, Like, a white person is really, really silent about, like, racial issues, or just real silent about, what their, racial beliefs are, you gotta be like, yeah, I don't know about you, bro. You know what I mean?
we ball. That was my first mistake. Parents weekend roll around, and Mr. and Mrs. Dimadam son, where'd you find this? Took some time from bleaching their hoods to visit their son in college. And they felt bad for Twinkle Twinkle Little Lashy Me, because my parents were all the way back in the Bahamas, which, I ain't gonna lie, it was tough to see all of the Brady bunches of cream of wheats taking selfies and thing while I hear marching down Minecraft and throwing back bags of ramen and noodles. So Daddy Doug had a genius idea. How about you come back to the Butte with us? Let me tell you something, my big and be them, my big woman them, and my big man them, I was looking like this. I was looking for any and every excuse not to accept this one-way ticket to Clanton. Clanton, just left Clanton. But before you know it, I was in the backseat like groceries, looking at the sanctity of my university in the rear view, and welcome to the Butte sign growing closer and closer with every second. We're home. I look up, and I could not believe my eyes. This had to be a setup. I wanted to turn around right then, because every moment that I spent here, I was spitting in my ancestors' cotton-stained corpses. I pull up to this literal plantation home. I mean, I could still see the blood, sweat, and tears on the grass like morning dew. I didn't feel like the boy from Get Out. Every neighbor had a MAGA flag. Like, this one neighbor had a gnome, right? But it wasn't even a gnome. It was a minstrel. So begrudgingly, sphincter tighter than Arthur Fist, or the grip of boomers that they have on their... And you wouldn't believe who I saw on the couch. Me more. So my roommate introduced me to his raisin cosplaying grandmother. She the one favor Sophia from Golden Girls. Weirdly enough, she made me feel somewhat safe.
Yeah, you don't gotta roast your grandmama like that. God damn. This video's great.
Like, this family ain't gonna try to lynch me with me ma sitting right there eating tapioca pudding. But as I say that, I hear this pitter-patter resounding from the stairs. You know who it is? It's Lassie running down the stairs. Like, they can't be that bad, right? They got a dog.
So true, bro. I mean, like, if you meet, like, a family of clan members and they're all, like, wearing their white hoods and, like, the Grand Wizard is, like, sitting in the middle of the living room, and you're just, like, sweating. My black ass sitting there sweating, like, oh, my God. What the fuck is going on in here? But there's a silver lining, you see. Much like the ram in the bush in the Bible, you see a dog run across the carpet to just greet you with that big old, like, doggy grin, and just, like, his tongue just hanging right out of his mouth. You see those sharp little teeth, and you just like, and you're just like, oh, Oh, thank God. Thank God. I thought this was a home of racists. They have a dog. They're not gonna lynch me. Whew! Okay. They're decent people. I'm safe. We're all good. What's up, Grand Wizard? You're not too bad after all. Shake hands. Everybody have a good old time. Have a Thanksgiving dinner, eat turkey. Yeah, this happened on Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're gonna sit out at the table, eat some Thanksgiving dinner. Got some cranberry sauce. My mom made some homemade cranberry sauce. You wanna have some of that? Yeah. Everyone had a good old time, and then racism ended. The dog's name is Boomer. Boomer has saved Christmas, and yeah, Christmas. He saved Christmas on Thanksgiving, and ended racism. Very wholesome story we have here.
Popping. Like, I should have seen this as a sign to just get the hell out. But my head too hard. Pause. Lassie started barking at me like Lady Bird. Daddy Dog come coddling the dog like damn. She's never been like
Boomer was racist? I'm gonna have to alter the story a little bit.
this. And I bet, Daddy Dog, I bet she's never been like this. Cause this probably like the most melanin Lassie ever see in her damn life. It wasn't until later that the mask came crashing down. And I saw what was really going on. We was at the dinner table. You know, Karen made burnt ends, macaroni, potato salad, a smorgasbord of unseasoned food.
Oh.
And I put my best Sydney Poitier.
What? Season your food.
Yeah, guess who's coming to dinner impression and scarf that food down like Texas Roadhouse as a means of survival. Then finally, Meemaw breaks her silence for the first time since I reach. I thought she was non-verbal and blind this whole time because she ain't say a damn word to me.
Damn.
And the first word that this woman could say nearly caused me spit out this nearly alive animal because Karen ain't cooked this thing all the way through.
You know, white people cook so poorly that the fucking turkey comes back to life after he comes out the oven. You're fucking eating raw turkey. Turkey's fucking screaming when you're just trying to chop his leg off. Just like, God, fucking hold this motherfucker down. God damn, you white people don't know how to cook shit. God damn, trying to eat this fucking live turkey. Nigga screaming and shit. God damn. I don't want no fucking screaming ass turkey, nigga. What the fuck? This shit good? No, it's not good. It ain't seasoned. At least put some salt on this motherfucker. God damn.
All this shit is. Anyway, Meemaw say, Doug, get the toes. I say the what? Now, mama, Jesus Christ on the back. I stood up in my ashy blackness and bellowed, what in the Jeff Foxworthy is going on in hell? I couldn't even threaten to call the cops because they probably is still calling the slave patrol around these parts. Daddy Doug stand up, redder than a lobster, and storm out the room. Karen clutching her non-existent pearls, and then Doug walk back in the room with this bowl. And I legit thinking that they have a bowl of severed black toes, and Doug opened his mouth up with a sigh. Big body foreign. I hear they call you that for some strange reason. I am sorry. Meemaw has dementia, which makes her speak out of turn sometimes. Meemaw stand up and expose the whole family. Why y'all acting like we don't eat toes for supper? Mama, it ain't toes. I open up my mouth. I put my hand in my I put my head in my hand and I say, for the love of the Lord, can you please stop saying the N-word? Can you just wait until I leave? Can you wait until I leave and say it behind my back like the normal Americans?
This is so funny. Is this even a true? Well, it's probably not a true story. This is literally a how do I put this? A Dave Chappelle bit. This is like every black stand-up comedian storytelling right here. This is obviously not a true story, or if it is, it's heavily exaggerated. But maybe I'm too not white for this. But what the fuck are Nigger toes? Is that what they're called? I need to. I'm sorry. I need to do research now.
Later.
You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. They're Brazil nuts. They're called Brazil nuts. And they are referred to as nigger toes. uh, I want to add commentary to this, but I can't. I'm literally incapable. So we're just going to move on from that. We're just going to accept that fact of reality. And we will provide no further context or commentary on this subject. We're just going to sit here, know that it exists, and accept it. That's it. That's all we gotta do. We just gotta accept it. I love America.
If y'all keep doing this, I gotta have a whole racial sensitivity training in Dubuque, Iowa. But I still couldn't get over the fact that there are 7 black toes in a bowl on a dinner table in the year of our Lord and big black baby Jesus. Doug started laughing as he told me that they're not actually toes. They're Brazilian nuts.
Oh, okay, so he actually gets into what they actually are. Okay.
I didn't believe this, man. I look inside the bowl just to come to the shocking realization that, damn, these are really nuts, and they do vaguely resemble black toes.
Southerners don't know how to do shit. Like, I'm sorry. Racist white people don't know how to do... sorry. White people don't know how to do shit. If you're gonna call them nigger something, call them nigger nuts, alright? Fucking do racism right.
But that wasn't the point, right? Even if they do look like black toes, you can't call it that. And in that moment, I felt so foreign. Pun intended. Here's this whole cultural tradition.
Bro, how do you think I feel? I don't even know what the fuck they were.
That this family has, that they deem to be the norm, but to me is a perversion. A deviation from decorum. A straight line in a crooked world. A kink.
What? What do you mean? Wait, I was asking myself how it was gonna, like, circle this back around to, like, kink-related shit. What the fuck does, like, that have to do with kink? And furthermore, this does lead into a conversation about how, like, racial tone deafness that circles back around to just full-on racism without it, like, being, like, hate when it comes to this conversation. But, like, we're not going to talk about that. This is an interesting subject. But that's not what he's talking about, apparently. He's talking about kink. What the fuck does this have to do with kink? Okay, well, alright.
Carolyn Shabazz, based surname, by the way, defines a kink as the use of non-conventional sexual practices, concepts, or fantasies. The term derives from the idea of a bend in one's sexual behavior, to contrast such behavior with straight or vanilla. It is thus a colloquial term for non-normative sexual behavior. So, despite the overdose of melanin my body has drowned in, I may finally fulfill Fanon's proposed desire of every black man. To be vanilla. Wouldn't Ruckus be proud? This is a deafening definition drenched in heteronormativity, which reveals how straightness is defaulted in alignment with white normalization and religious piety that determines which sexual acts are right, and which are wrong. Engendering a strict sexual regimen that prioritizes men in masks, shelves women and femmes, and most of all, incarcerates our sexuality. This is why kinks ought not be tabooed whispers, but instead buoyant bugles that shake the foundations of patriarchy and liberate our sex. Kinks are...
Well, Well said, brother. Well said.
Keys to the chastity of our identities. And all of these jail allegories are shouting to me to finally get to the painful part of this entire video. I've stalled long enough. I had the pleasure, the unique privilege and distinct pleasure of chatting with two of my favorite creators and a special guest that not only consumed the kink that we're discussing today, but curated and created content for this kink, all of whom are trans. This is like the Posse movie without ball culture and the AIDS epidemic. ADHD tangent, yeah, you know what time it is. But why anytime when I see an AIDS commercial, it gotta be a black queer or black queer person in the B-roll? You think cis het folk them ain't out here catching AIDS?
To be fair, that is kind of weird that they do that.
Why in the year of our Lord, 2023, are we still getting propaganda that perpetuates the myth that AIDS is a queer and colorful experience rather than a human one? Anyway, all-star trans cast and one token straight, your boy, Big Buddy Foreign. I guess this is the world that these unscrupulous leftists want.
Force fem content and is basic.
It does drive me crazy how, like, I'm not against the idea of, like, having guests on to talk about a particular subject that they're more involved in. But, like, to me, like, you can just say what you think without having to do this all the time. It feels like you're trying to use them as a shield from criticism. It's just like, hey, these people come to the same conclusions that I do, so I'm all good, right? If you have an opinion about queer culture or whatever, sure, yes, absolutely listen to queer people, but at the same time, just voice your opinion without having to, like, continuously get queer people on your own channel all the fucking time. All you have to do is just not speak over queer people. That's all you gotta do. Just not speak over them. State your opinion about a subject, but don't speak over them. It's not that hard to do. It's really not. Like, I talk about white people all the fucking time. I'm not gonna pretend I know shit about white culture or shit like. No, I don't.
Forced feminization for me inherently triggering and very upsetting.
How much there is to unpack here. Jesus Christ.
In order to understand the racialized forced feminization fetish, we need to look at interracial porn. Not actually look at it, but investigate the meta of it. You can let it go now. Ain't nothing happening here. Interracial porn has always been a widely consumed commodity, as it's inextricably tethered to the racist institutions of a white cis supremacist patriarchal society. Despite the most searched terms,
I wouldn't know because I only watch lesbian interracial porn. Sorry. Oh my god, look at the list. Lesbian is 4th. Because, of course, people, like, straight up just, like, fucking fetishize. Straight men like to fetishize lesbians, unfortunately. Same reason, like, they like to fetishize black people, so, which is why interracial is so high up there for, you know, fetishizing reasons. So, yeah. It's a very interesting subject. God damn. There was a time when lesbian was, like, the top, one of the top, was, like, #1. And is still in the top 5. Crazy.
term on the hub being lesbian and anti last year, the interracial fetish culture has steadily increased as an allegory for America's racial divide, reaching canyon-esque widths. Studios such as Blocked have burgeoned beyond the bedroom and have been neologized into our everyday vernacular, solidified in meme culture and immortalized in song. But other corn houses have been peddling jungle lust as a genre for decades, harking back to the days of DVDs and even brothels dedicated to white cis mandem finding pleasure in the very bodies that they would punish by way of policing, redlining, transatlantic slave trade. You get the picture. I ain't got enough time to be listing all the things that the white man them done. Yes, Lord. And this dynamic is not only in corn, but in intercourse in general. This hierarchical arrangement of bodies either being the dominator or the dominated is a reflection of our society in general. It's either do or be done to. But kink is a revolution.
I don't know how I feel about what he just said there. Like the top and bottom dynamic. No. I what? I mean, that can be taken to like predatory extremes, but if both parties are consenting, I really don't think it there's an issue. But there is something to be said when it's pornography, you know, media that is produced and meant to be consumed by an audience. And because it's media that's consumed by an audience, it gets interpreted by an audience, which means the top slash bottom dynamic when applied to interracial stuff can be weird and lead to very how do I put this, unsavory interpretations and or consequences.
Revolutionary way forward, as it subverts the norm. Sex is powerful, political, and public, as well as private, personal, and poetic. But the plot got nuts this time, as we see this kink reiterating the trials and tribulations of the transatlantic slave trade, but with a twist. Or kink, if you will. I'm gonna milk this one for everything it's got.
You have the person being feminized and the person doing the feminizing. Basically, you've got somebody who is a masculine man person who is being turned, quote unquote, turned into a woman or being forced into a feminized role, forcing them into makeup, forcing them into clothes, and making them hold certain postures. It's basically like forcing somebody to put on a drag show, but like generally it's like between two people.
Forced feminization involves sexual role play.
Wait, I want to force them to. Can you let them finish that sentence? All right. Okay, whatever.
Set man them undergoing involuntary training and transformation into women or femdom using things like wigs, lingerie, clothing, and heels. The ultimate idea is that the forced femme has failed so stupendously in their masculinity that the only logical decision is to become a woman and sexually serve an actual alpha male.
What a lot of people might not understand is
What?
that cross.
What? Wait, what? I'm confused. He lost me. This is where he loses me right here. What the fuck is he talking about?
Involves sexual role play of cishet mandem undergoing involuntary training.
All right, so here's how he's laying it out. He just said cishet men. All right, cisgender heterosexual men engaging in this type of behavior. Like one is a masculine, one is super feminized. Okay, let him continue.
And transformation into women or femdom using things like wigs, lingerie, clothing, and heels.
Okay, yeah, this is cis het men doing this, okay?
The ultimate idea is that the forced femme has failed so stupendously in their masculinity that the only logical...
So, like he said, this cishet man has it failed them so tremendously to the point where they want to become women.
decision is to become a woman and...
Yeah, that's the word. Become woman. What? Elaborate. Help. Hello. Help. All right.
Sexually serve an actual alpha male.
What a lot of people might not understand is that cross-dressing in general is predominantly a cis hetero male fetish, and a lot of it comes from
Of course he's nodding and he's like, I can't say this shit on my own. I'm gonna get a black trans woman to say this shit for me. Nigga, just say it with your whole chest, my guy. Like, you see these things, interpret it the way you want to. Don't have somebody else say it for you. Dude, okay, she's saying this, alright. So now what's your opinion on that as well? Oh, well, okay, maybe we'll get into that. But like, this is already so fucking weird.
this idea of feminine things as inherently forbidden. And for a lot of people, they may initially find appeal with forced feminization because it is often presented as one person leading another person through femininity in a very affirming way, right? So if you are a cis hetero man and you have a curiosity for feminizing your body or for being feminine, or maybe
Then more power to you. You should do that, and that should be the end of the story. Don't think too deep about the politics of it. Just do that and be yourself. Jesus, it's not that hard. All right, that should be the end of the conversation.
you are a trans woman and you are, you know, overwhelmed by this idea of people not accepting you, or of you never finding a woman who's going to be attracted to you as a person who does feminine stuff, it's common for you to look at this forced feminization kink in a very different light, because a lot of times it is a woman, usually a beautiful woman, leading a man through the process of feminization. And for a lot of people, that can feel really affirming. It can feel like you're finally in a situation where you're being embraced, like your highest fear of someone rejecting you for being a woman or for being girly or whatever, it's kind of flipped on its head.
As I mentioned, it's easy to wag fingers in the face of this fetish due to...
All right, my friend, you listened to what Cat Blada said. What's your opinion on that?
the tangible dangers that we're about to embark on. But let's take a charitable perspective for a second. This fetish can engender an environment where folks who fear or are not familiar with their gender expression could roam like an open world of identity.
I only bring it up because I want to be 100% honest here. Yeah, just very uncomfortable to admit, and this is not something trans people talk about with other people, because I think something like a man being feminine can be so violently repressed. When people raised as male start to maybe consider options outside of that, the first thing they often go to is sexual. A lot of people's gateway into being trans.
Actually, before that happens, they are either lynched or ridiculed and belittled by everyone around them.
Their first dipping their toes into it is through cross-dressing. I tend to think these people that we're talking about today, it's not that, it's not out of a love for femininity. It's almost out of a looking down on it.
In a society
What?
right now.
Wait, rewind, what?
Something like a man being feminine can be so violently repressed. When people raised as male start to maybe consider options outside of that, the first thing they often go to is sexual. A lot of people's gateway into being trans, their first dipping their toes into it is through cross-dressing. I tend to think these people that we're talking about today, it's not that, it's not out of a love for femininity. It's almost out of a looking down on it.
Who? What people is she talking about? Dude, we're 18 minutes in this fucking 53-minute video, and I have nothing. What people are he talking about? I have no examples. This is all left extremely vague. I am confused. Who is doing this? What group of people are we talking about? Because when you leave it vague like this, all you do is lend credence to transphobia. I'm sorry to fucking be this extreme, but you are. Because look at what they said earlier. They said that these people, who are these people? These people who want to embrace femininity. And then they say that they jump to porn to do that? What? Who's doing that? A TERF that will look at this video would interpret that as literally any trans woman. Oh, it's the men that are doing that. You see, these fucking troons, they are looking at porn and then they want to become women because they fetishize womanhood. They're disgusting, evil pieces of shit. They're fucking misogynistic garbage. That's the argument you're letting credence to by leaving it vague like this. What group of people are you talking about? Because when you leave it vague like this, you're lending credence to transphobic talking points. Because that is exactly what trans people are to them.
In a society right now where transness is under so much scrutiny, discussing the intricacies of trans, especially in mixed company. Like when we discuss like black politics and just like the sundry of it all, in mixed company, where like your most trollish white folk can then begin to poke holes like, see, I knew black people were bad, like, because this black person is now talking about black Republicans. We know that people can take this and use it to weaponize it against talking about it rather than treating it with the nuance it deserves. So I appreciate that.
When I was a lot younger, I found my trans identity through. Actually, that's where I learned about transgender people. It's the first I had ever seen transgender.
Now that is a problem. That is an actual real issue. How like trans people are fetishized so much to the point where like pretty much the only exposure that people have to trans people is through porn or jokes making fun of trans people. For those of you that follow my Twitter, you already know this. My first exposure to trans people was fucking Family Guy. I'm not joking. Like, Family Guy was my introduction to trans people. And when I first saw that episode, you know, the Brian episode with Quagmire's mom, and the barf scene and whatnot and all that, how you know, that whole episode just made me look at trans people and just like, ew, gross. Trans people are disgusting. And I was transphobic ever since, up until like 2020, 2021-ish. So, yeah. It's unfortunate that that's like, it's getting better now that trans people have more of a mainstream presence in culture, but back then it was all either porn or jokes made at trans people's expense.
People in any sort of way that wasn't just, oh, a man who had his cut off or a man who wears a dress or something like that. And like, because that was the entire framing that I'd had before, is that that's what that was. And then I get to, and I'm searching, exploring, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Okay. There's also wondering, how come I'm a category? How come I am like tightly relegated into a category and will not be seen outside of that category? I am.
It's the same reason lesbians are a category in these sites. Like, and to be quite honest with you, I much prefer it that way, because I don't want to see anything that's not lesbian porn. I'm sorry. I do want lesbian porn to be more inclusive to trans people, but I understand why that's not, because there are some people that just are not attracted to that don't like dicks. I mean, like, of course I have a pussy preference, but I still like KCK, so I mean, yeah.
I'm at least like seen as a straight category, or as like a category that can be in multiple sexualities, but I'm still just like, unless I'm clicking on trans, I'm not seeing trans people. There are no trans people unless I click on the trans category. Trans people.
I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing entirely. I think the main issue is how trans people are fetishized, not that like there's a porn category for. What I find to be most weird is that like black people are a category. That's what I find to be more weird, that like black people are to the point where like we're considered like not the default. Like when you see, like, you don't see like a category for white. You just don't. But black people inherently are like the a subversive category in like the porn industry, and like not even just the porn industry, in fucking any type of media. Like there's regular media, and then there's black media. There's sci-fi, and then there's black sci-fi. There's cowboy Wild West, and then there's black cowboy Wild West. And you know, it's unfortunate that that's like what the culture is now, that like we're not there yet to the point where like black people are seen as just people. When it comes to like the trans thing, I mean, for me personally, not everyone has to like dicks. But to be fair, like if you look at like a regular porn category, and like trans is like categorized in this hypothetical world, trans like doesn't even have a category, which is it's all just porn. And like you click a video, and then you see like you were expecting some straight porn or whatever, and still technically is straight porn, and like you see a guy fucking a trans girl, and you didn't expect to see expect this girl to have a dick. What do? If you don't like seeing that, just click another video. It's that easy. It's that easy. Just click another video. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, okay. I guess I can see their argument here. See how I rationalize that?
People don't exist unless you click on trans. I was really repressed. I wasn't able to explore and talk about these things with friends. I didn't have family I could talk about this with. I didn't have trusted others that I could talk about with. So the only way that I learned about my sexuality really was watching. And I watched a lot of when I was younger. I used to watch hours of every single day. You get to a point where it's easy to get through all the videos on a website very quickly. And to be like, okay, well, what's next? I want to find another one. I want to find something else that gets me off that isn't the same thing that's gotten me off already. And what I'm noticing now is I was looking for identity. I was looking for me. I was looking for compilations, and then I start finding that the compilations with hypnosis elements, where you've got a nice soothing voice in the background with some nice soothing music or some beats, binaural beats or whatever, and they're telling you nice things in your ear, and it's like, oh, I've never had anybody actually be like this with me before. I've never had anybody be soft and gentle with me before. And once you get into the hypnosis videos, it's like force femme just like kind of flows from there, because some of the force femme things can be really hard to swallow for people, and you know, if they were under hypnosis at the time, it might be a bit easier, that kind of thing. Forced femme content was always this place where, at very least, somebody was saying that I was feminine. Somebody was pushing me towards being that feminine ideal. Just let me escape my life.
Kay's story is
We are really lending credence to the we are accidentally lending credence to the porn made me trans talking point, are we? What was the point of all that? Why are we talking about that? I'm not discrediting this person's experience at all. I'm just saying, why are we bringing that up in this video? What is the point of that?
synchronously heartbreaking and heartwarming. And with Lily's reiteration of exploration avenues, some trans folk them may peruse.
Okay,
one of the
what is the point then? Like we're leaving this way too vague, and it's driving me crazy how vague this is. Are we doing the porn made me trans thing? Or are we saying that fetishizing trans people is bad? Which is a true thing, fetishizing trans people is bad. But that fetishization of trans people led this person to discovering themselves and their identity and like their sexual identity and what have you. So there was a positive there. What is the point? It's so all over the place. I don't understand the conclusion that we're supposed to come to based on everything that I've seen so far.
Sexual, it purports a harrowing and hallowing reality. Heteronormativity and cis white supremacist patriarchy have coalesced in an Avengers-esque form to push people that don't fit the mold to the fringes of society. Transness is not inherently other. The experience has always existed. I mean, as a cis black man, there are things of my experience that defy the mold of manhood and blackness garishly. I got more cake than a bakery. I got more buns than the Krusty Krab. I probably got more than your gal. If you's a gal watching right now, I probably got more than you. I bet you, yes, Lord. And having is a feminine trait in the society, because patriarchy encourages a body type that is desired by the male gaze, as well as, for a lack of a better word, breeding material. Yes. Many cis folk themselves deviate from their
So true. All right. Moving on.
idea of cisness in varying degrees. But trans folk are more bold with their departure from the shackles of sex and gender. They're braver. But these institutions have a vested interest in sorting people into categories in order to best exploit and subjugate them. Hence why transness is exhausting.
Okay, I think we're getting to a point, are we? Okay, this is a good point. The fetishization of trans people and putting us into a subversive category and not treating us like we're like everyone else. Okay, that is a good point. Now let's elaborate on that.
Under the current creed that we are governed by, rendering much of trans existence online, which is not only a good and a bad thing, but due to these institutions, a necessary and pragmatic one. Games like The Sims have graduated to VR chat, where many trans folk can experience gender euphoria and boldly break the eggs that they were so cloistered in. But sometimes the route to one's authentic self is not as accessible as an online game. Some trans folks' way to wholeness is a treacherous one, filled with potholes and detours that, but for the world being more inclusive of identities in variegation, these trans folk may not have had to wend that way. Had the paths for personal liberation been more clearly defined, supported, then maybe she would have been able to find herself as easy as it was for me to find out that I'm a cis man.
Is there a chance that like deep down some of them are trans and like this is the only avenue they can find to express it is through racism? You know, is there like a world in which
I still have no idea who we're talking about, to be honest. I mean, I do have some idea, but I'm not entirely sure because they're being like extremely vague and it's driving me crazy. Like, are we talking about like racist people? Like Nazis? Like there are a lot of like, you know, not a lot, but like there are some femboy Nazis out there. But and that's only like a small number of people that are Nazis. And of course, like I mean, like let's be real. Probably many of them are insecure to the point where they like gravitate towards fucking trans porn because, you know, it's subversive and blah 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 blah. I don't want to get too deep into it. I just wish I knew who what type of person we're talking about. What group of people are we talking about? I'm confused.
a person needs to give themselves permission to
Is
be
it porn
feminine?
addicts? Is it white? Is it white? Is it straight heterosexual cishet porn addicts? Is that what we're talking about? Again, you got me. I don't know.
And the only way they can see themselves doing that is this like uncomfortable question. I don't even know if I want the answer.
But the marginalized spirit is so indefatigable that it will contort to whatever it's cloistered in, like water in a bottle. We ought always focus on the institutions rather than the individuals when deciding where our energy is best placed. But the way to understanding these very institutions, especially the one that we're talking about today, are through the individuals in this case. That said, this movement is home to very heinous happenings.
My femininity is not, first of all, it's not sexualized, right? Like, first and foremost, I don't see femininity as inherently sexual or forbidden or kinky.
The fetish is based in their state of their body. So they're going from like a body they see as like default as unremarkable to one that they see as like inherently sexual. Why does going on hormones make you inherently sexual, right? Like what's up with that?
I don't really enjoy.
See, now we're talking about a broad social issue, which is a very real thing. But then, like after this, they're gonna once again transition to another hypothetical group of people or whatever that like I don't know, fucking fetishize femininity to the point where they become femboys or something like that. And like what? Who are we talking about? Social issue? Are we talking about a broad social issue, or are we talking about hypothetical people doing weird hypothetical shit and being hypothetically weird about hypothetical trans people? on hypothetical porn sites. I am I missing something? I don't know if I'm missing something. Like, or either I'm missing something or they are being vague. Because then again, like, even if there's a subject that we're talking about, and the subject being a particular group or person that they're referring to, you would see that being repeated in the video, and they wouldn't, Foreman wouldn't just call them out just once, like at the beginning of the video, and then continue to talk about the subject without directly naming them, like, you know, using a noun without you know what I'm talking about. But I don't think he has talked about any group of people or person specifically. I don't know who we are talking about, which is the problem. The vagueness here is the problem. Who is it? Is it Nazis? Is it white supremacists? Is it gooners? Because generally speaking, they're just talking about white men, I think. So I don't. Are we talking about social issue? Are we talking about a certain behavior of certain people? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nitpicky, but I don't understand what we're talking about.
Feeling like somebody's interest in femininity is specifically tied to a misogynistic view of a woman's sexuality. Some people who are into forced feminization kink see being feminine as the lowest thing you can do. That's part of why it's sexually appealing to them, because it's degrading for them to be feminine.
Why
Okay, no, that's a subject that they keep calling back to. Forced feminization. All right. Why the fuck wasn't this video called forced feminization or had the word forced feminization in the title? Why? Because this subject is continuously being brought up, but at the same time we're talking about a social issue. But at the same time we're talking about a hypothetical group of people that are affected by this forced feminization kink.
why is a body like mine more like worthy of fetishizing, right? I want to know what's humiliating about being more feminine.
A lot of men who want women submissives don't want trans women as submissive. Some people do, but a lot of them don't. And if they do, sometimes it is tied closely to some of those fetishes, right? So I've definitely had dominants approach me who were interested in sort of doing like sissy play like that. And for me, that's, you know, I always want to be
Look at sissy play. I don't know.
respectful of other people's thing. But it's like vomit inducing for me personally. Like the idea of somebody looking at me and and seeing me as a sissy and wanting to sissify me, which of course there's a degradation aspect to that. It's just so offensive.
Forced feminization is kissing cousins with hypnotism, cuckoldry, and BBC content. And I ain't talking about Doctor Who. The first cousin of the forced fem kink on their mom's side is the BBC fetish, which dehumanizes by way of deification the masculine black body. When you put it like that.
All right. I'm going to get my facts straight before I go any further. All right, here we go. Let's have some context here. We have a very decent summary here, so everyone in the room is on the same page, right? Feminization or feminization, see differences, blah, 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 blah. Shortened to forced femme or forced femme, and also known as sissification, is a practice in dominance and submission or kink subcultures involving reversal of gender roles and making a submissive male take on a feminine role, which includes cross-dressing. Subsets of the practice include sissy training, and variations thereof where the submissive male is trained to become feminine. Which, of course, like they said in the video, is points to a societal issue where like femininity is seen as inherently sexual or fetishy, which is a broader societal issue. And I wish most of the video was talking about that, but maybe I've been misunderstanding this entire time. Who knows? Maybe that's what the problem is. I've been misunderstanding, but we'll see as we go further. And of course, it clarifies, thankfully, feminization as a sexual fetish is not the same thing as being a transgender woman, and and the submissive partners engaging in it are typically heterosexual men. It has been speculated that the fetish is rooted in societal pressure for men to be traditionally masculine, which, of course, they did talk about, and they are still talking about within the video, which is true. So, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, let's just, just making sure we get our facts straight, so everybody's thinking along, everybody knows what the subject matter is, what we're talking about here. I wish this word was in a video title or whatever, but hey, maybe I'm just too ADHD and I missed some stuff. Who knows? Who knows?
Y'all may have guessed by now that the cuckoldry and BBC fetish are derived from the transatlantic slave trade, where black women were viewed as highly promiscuous, while black men were viewed as sexually deviant, predatory, and extremely tall and masculine. Combine
This is
race
true.
with the known danger of masculinity, and you have a recipe for disaster. Take my taser, that's not nearly On
We're talking about 4chan.
April 4, 2018, an anonymous post was made on the taint of the internet 4chan. An individual making a call to action to feminize the incels of 4chan, even if it means by force. And ain't on with the alias Rico. I assume that's how it's pronounced, Rico. So not anonymous, I guess, because you got a whole name, right? Rico preyed upon a particular subthread. I don't know what they call it on a hellscape. A subthread named R9K, where majorly cis men that have withdrawn from society congregate to vent about their dissatisfaction with their disenfranchisement. Rather than being a men's self-help forum like the great folks there over in r/men's lib, R9K has fermented into a breeding ground that can be linked to some of the most egregious incelic events of the last decade, such as the South Polk Community College attack. It is apparent that the folks coming here ought be helped, but instead, they've been herded for nefarious activities, and one of which was this. As is commonplace with online forums, some folks post things that don't quite fit the theme. Whether it's me and FD link dumping in r/breadtube, or flooding this hub for lonely men with...
Alright, let's look at this.
So why haven't you become a cute girl yet, Anon? It's easy to do.
I'm losing weight at the moment, not sure if I want to be a girl, though. Alright, I would like to know why we're bringing this up.
With what I understand to be trap threads. These trap threads would exhort these lonely...
Oh, let's read this. Join Trap Discord group. They asked me for a picture of me dressed up in order to join. Showing face. Yeah, it's like a cult. Everyone worships Rico. Turns out they dox me and have all my info. They're blackmailing me with a pic, saying that if I don't take HRT, they will mail it to my family and friends. They've done this to numerous other people. What the do I know? Alright, so we already know what goddamn, I'm losing the word now. We all already know what forced feminization is. Or just feminization in general, which is a kink. And not only is it a kink, it is a kink usually between two consenting parties. Alright. What we're looking at here is what libs of TikTok would like to call grooming. Or, okay, let's be real. Libs of TikTok would absolutely call this grooming, but libs of TikTok calls any trans person breathing oxygen grooming. Let's be real. But, like, this is, like, fits the conservative definition of grooming. Being turned trans by, being on the internet because people are Why are we talking about this?
Anonymous users to cross-dress and even transition to cure them of their disposition. No, this ain't naive, foreign, mistaken, a queer-affirming thread on 4chan to be a trap thread instead. This was predatory grooming, much like Matt Walsh and them claim Trump to be doing.
Oh, he's at... Dude! There is no reason to talk about these fucking 4chan... Yeah, 4chan. 4chan. Yeah, I'm gonna call it that. 4chan threads. Why? Because Chaya Raichik does not look at fucking 4chan. This is not a good rebuttal at all. Chaya Raichik does not look at these 4chan threads. At all. She does not use these as examples of grooming. You know what she does use as examples of grooming? A trans person breathing oxygen on fucking TikTok. That's it. And now what you're doing is providing something that is actually the closest example to what the conservatives have been screeching about for the past couple years now. Why are you bringing this up? What is the point of this? Seriously, I would like to know, what is the point of this? This is literally like the darkest corners of the internet that like almost nobody knows about unless they're fucking terminally online.
But instead, it was apparently a cis dude grooming these users by seeking out lonely victims to feminize them. It would later come out that this was a concerted effort to feminize folks for fetish, even so far as to blackmail these folks into transitioning. Whether folks truly transition is up for speculation, but what is obvious is that this is a repugnant case study of forced feminization as a means of predatory fetishization.
What? I thought we were talking about a kink. This is so all over the place. This is my problem with this video. Nothing is like adequately defined. Like nothing. All of it is left vague. And he puts in these clips of people talking about like genuine actual social issues mixed in with this fucking ball of nonsense. And what you have here is a fucking mess where you can come to all kinds of different conclusions from what you see in this video. This is like the fucking Bible. The Bible is a culmination of a bunch of different fucking stories and things that have been jumbled together, make no sense when you try to put them into one context, but they make a lot of sense when you take them as themselves in their own individual stories. This is what this is. Except some of the points that he's coming to make no goddamn sense, like at all, even on their face. I don't understand. Okay, why? What are we talking about?
If you're able to look past the invidious acts of preying upon presumably men that are in dire need of help and community, then the apparent misogyny that this is drenched in by deeming women and femmes to purely be sexual experiences, as well as the humiliation kink suggested.
That is a symptom of a problem, not the problem. I'm sorry, dude. These like little corners of the internet, these people are fucking nobodies. Like like femoid is actually getting like affected by these dipshits like at all. I'm sorry, they're not. They're in their own little world. They are going to be misogynistic in their own little world. These weird forced feminization shit or whatever that they're doing on 4chan is a symptom of a broader societal issue, not an issue in and of itself. No, stop. Can we talk about the actual issue here, which is how fucking sexualized femininity is? Not that fucking there are people on the internet that are weird about femoids to the point where they try to force transition people on 4chan. This isn't a broad issue. This is not something worth talking about. The fetishization of femininity is something worth talking about. This is nothing.
That this is an embarrassment to be a woman.
I think I want to go live in the forest for 200 years. Going on hormones and all this is such a big thing that changes so much. I have so many questions, like, how are they even getting them if they're not trans?
It is inherently fantasy for most of these people, right? So a lot of these people are not actually in any meaningful way transitioning, right? What they might do is, like I said, take photos from other people. Like I've definitely seen, just because I've been online for too long, people take photos of people who I know and like pretend that they are that person going through transition, right? Like the forced feminization community does do a lot of like stealing photos of actual transgender women, as a way of expressing their fetish. So what you may see and think, oh, these people
That is actually weird. That's fucked up, and that's actually bad, and actually can lead to harm to trans people.
are actually transitioning. It's not that. And in fact, for a lot of these men, the fact that it isn't real is kind of like why it excites them, right? How this materializes, how this impacts a transgender woman is that, generally speaking, if you're a trans woman posting photos of yourself on the internet, and especially if you're a transgender woman who has documented your transition in any way, if you have shown yourself change or whatever, the content that you post will ultimately be taken.
This image goes hard, by the way. I'm sorry, it does.
And stolen by forced feminization blogs. So what you'll see a lot is you'll see actual transgender women being reposted on forced feminization blogs as, a way of feeding into the fetish, right? You started here, now you're here. These are things that are projected onto you. Your images are stolen to make inferences that are not true. I actually, years ago, had a transition timeline, because I was like, this is when my channel only had like 5,000 subscribers, and like I just wanted more views, frankly. And then somebody downloaded it and reposted it on a fetish forced feminization page. And it was so uncomfortable, because you have somebody now taking your story, taking your experience, and fetishizing it.
But wait, there's more. You also have the transphobia by infantilizing transness, exotifying transness, and most of all, deeming it to be an inherent sexual experience, thus denying trans folk autonomy and wholeness by limiting their spectrum of self to just sex.
One of the central parts of it is humiliation, is that this is some sort of humiliating thing, that they are going to be now in some sort of lesser role, that they're going to be taken down to the level of a woman, to a place where they deserve.
The nodding is like so good. I like watching that.
Every single video, that's just like the primary focus of the video is you are supposed to focus on just the Tyrone aspects of this person and worship it as
The woke white boy's guide to being an OO ally. So support feminism and female empowerment. Advocate for open. The fuck is going on? What is this? All right.
God, basically. Since you as a white man are so tiny and submissive, and look at your tiny and haha, look at your small arms, and it's just like you are pathetic and weak, and that you are never going to be able to compete with black men because they are the strongest, most powerful thing. So you may as well just go ahead and.
Oh, so we're well, I mean, we've already been roping racial fetishization into this, but like, what is the point? Okay, maybe let's try to be charitable here. Okay. I'm guessing the overarching point that we're supposed to come to, based on everything we're seeing so far, is that I'm trying. I really am. Dude, when I watch video essays, and I watch a lot of video essays, there's always an overarching point that remains consistent throughout the video. Is it? Oh God. It can't be just my ADHD. Because I can at least like draw out a point from video essays that I watch. Oh my God, wait. What is the point? Okay. Alright, let me see. I'm gonna try what we talked about so far. Trans women and not just trans women, women in general and femininity are fetishized. And that is bad. I think. There are points in the video where it is talked about in the negative light. And it causes weak white men that are perceived to be feminine because they are of small stature and what have you to want to become women because they watch transgender porn or they watch Ngoon to porn in general. Which makes them become like cross-dressers. And sometimes they'll fetishize or like steal pictures from trans women and get them harassment. And sometimes these guys are misogynistic, or a lot of the times these guys are misogynistic. Or wait. Yeah, I'm lost.
And start feminizing yourself now, and start taking, estrogen because you're such a weak boy, and you gotta become a sissy for black men, and that's
Goddamn. Fetishization can sometimes be tricky to identify because it's easy to write off as a sexual preference and can be masked by compliments, adoration, or genuine appreciation. And I want to be clear here again, fetishes by themselves aren't problematic, as fetishization on a basic level is simply just the sexualization of something, which can then make it desirable. As Dr. Donna Oriola once put it, it's not wrong to be attracted to skin color, body type, hair, or cultural descent. But only going for certain phenotypic traits disregards others' humanity and places them into a category of something to possess or conquer, which can
Is that the point? That I'm trying to be charitable here. Is that what the point is? That fetishization is dehumanizing, but God, there's so much in this video that makes it that doesn't talk about that though.
be led to violence against black bodies.
How's it racist to say that I want to have a BBC? Bruh. Like, it's a category. It's a category, and the amount of time.
Okay. Is that what the point is? Reducing trans people and what femininity in general to porn categories leads people to want to cross-dress. I don't cross-dress and or fetishize trans women and inadvertently lead to harm to trans women. I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Sometimes I look for BBC gangbang, one female, 6 BBC guys.
Back to the BBC thing. This fetish is all about worshipping the onyx obelisk and uses animalistic verbiage such as studs and stallion. It's not just soy boys or chads who are into it. No, it's Karen and her Queen of Spades tattoo and breeding kink. It's your alpha male obsessed friend Cody who enjoys being locked in a chastity cage with a spade logo which classifies him as being automatically subservient to the black men who will plow his wife like it's reparations for never having received those 40 acres and a mule.
The kind of white men who feel like they are being feminized by inherently having sex with a black man or being submissive towards a black man, or also the kind of men who really get off on seeing white women do that.
So now we're talking about white men being feminized by black men to the point where they want to cross dress and become mockeries of trans women. Is that what I'm getting? I don't know.
That with black men, right? And so what they're sort of doing is imagining, that they are in that position. And when they're in a relationship with someone, a lot of times this is, I want you to, my wife in a way that I've never been able to, and feminize me, right? Now, of course, like I said, there are people who, when they're exploring that fetish, feel, oh my gosh, I might be trans, and then they might actually pursue it. But usually that's because they're trans, not because of the fetish so much, right? Transitioning.
Yeah, that's like when you're either trans or femboy or what have you, and both of those are completely valid, no matter how you come to that conclusion, whether you go into a lot of porn or not. Who gives a shit? Whatever, man.
Really gnarly, right? And so much of what these men actually fetishize in all reality is their position in this as a white man, and specifically as a white man who has the power to define this situation for exactly what it is. Because one thing you'll find is so much of it is based in how much the man is actually enjoying it. He might say, please her in a way that I've never been able to please her. Like in his mind, the fetish may be that he's trying to like satisfy her, or have her be satisfied, but really it's about him getting his kink. And a lot of these couples that I've seen,
Is that a bad thing? I mean, it can be dehumanizing, but it's not inherently dehumanizing.
a lot of times it is like the guy really pushing for it and the girl could take or leave it, right? And I've seen more than a few times where they did this thing, they did the cuckold
That's a case by case basis though, so like I don't, you can't come to a broader conclusion when you talk about this shit.
thing, but like he actually didn't want it to go the way that it went. Sometimes, people end up doing this and it ends up ruining relationships because maybe she really does want to leave you. Maybe she really does want to leave you for this black guy, right? And
Okay, I mean, okay, so is she talking about like the insecurity that white men have, which is a very real thing, which is why they consume a lot of fucking interracial porn anyway? Like, I don't know, but this is a different conversation though. Like, so maybe this does have to do. So maybe he did title it appropriately, kind of. He keeps changing the fucking title. So we're just talking about the sissification of white men in general, but like, the problem I'm consistently having is what's the issue here when we talk about the subject? Are we just talking about it just to talk about it and not coming to like any conclusions whether or not it's good or bad? Because they're so again, I don't. It feels like they're just talking about it just to talk about it. That's what I'm getting.
And that's where the line gets drawn, right? That's when the racism and the other isms are like not that far, behind all this, right? Because some of the appeal for some of these white men in these positions is the fact that this white woman is lowering herself to do something that she wouldn't usually do because he wants it. It's mostly cis het men, because a lot of these men will maintain a very particular masculine normative image. And then behind closed doors, they're a sissy pass around bottom slut, right? And I've seen so many people like that, right?
Yeah, it's like that. That's toxic masculinity that pushes that part of themselves into the background. It's a bad thing. I understand that. Makes perfect sense.
A lot of these men don't actually want their wives to leave them for black men. They don't actually want to bow down to the Black New World Order or anything like that. Their fetish is specifically seated in the idea that they, as white men, have immense power and they can define a sexual scenario that pleases them to their very T.
The false feminization kink is
like because white men have like a lot of social power in like normal society, so so like the only time they feel depowered is when they sissify themselves and submit to a black man in a way that like either getting fucked in the ass or having their wife get fucked in the ass by that black male. All right. So there are bad ways to do that, and there are good ways to do that. There are dehumanizing ways to go about that, and there are less dehumanizing ways to go about that. And of course, it does point to a societal issue where white men are just in general more privileged. Okay, so yeah, I agree with that. Um, I still don't understand what this has to do with the broader point. Whatever that broader point is, ugh.
A self identifying cis male fantasy to become a docile woman or femme with a hyper dominant partner. And when you look at it, it's a harmful, toxic blend of misogyny and racism to perpetuate a culture of self loathing and harmful stereotypes. These retroactive reprobates apply misogyny and racism to master, leading into another strange fetish, gooning, derived from the mental state in masturbation where a person becomes
Man, we are talking about a lot in this video. Oh, it's so packed with too many different subjects. Oh,
blank and is overcome with pleasure, leading to a trance like state and more susceptible to exposure to other forms of kinks. According to their dedicated and regularly updated subreddit, this is designed as a gateway to kink for those who believe that their sexual prospects are impossible.
Sissy is really purely a sexual thing. That's been my experience. Because it is a term for someone being feminine, but also being like pathetic and powerless. And so I guess it's kind of beyond me why someone would claim that unless it was for like a humiliation kink. The thing I'm reaching for is that it might also be liberating for them in a way when it is not in this like super problematic context, to step out of the gender that's expected of you, right? Like to get a break from that almost. And I think that's what
yeah, more power to them. End of story.
people maybe look for in like submission in general. It's just like a break from their normal selves. They want to be feminine because part of them wants to be powerless, and they just don't see femininity as powerful.
Now I'd be remiss to even
Okay, there is a truth to that, but like, how do you know? Well, okay, let's be real. Yeah, that people in general, like a lot of people subconsciously see femininity as like depowering, but like that doesn't make this kink inherently a bad thing because of that. And then I I still am troubled because I don't know the conclusion I'm supposed to come to in this conversation with what this video is talking about. Like, if we're gonna talk about how women are like seen as inherently less powerful, then we could talk about that. Or are we talking about like how black men are fetishized? We could talk about that. There's too many different subjects like compressed into this video, and it's just like it's not organized well at all. It's so all over the place. Maybe that's where the problem lies with this video more than anything else. It's not like, I think he's trying to get to a point, but I don't know what that point is because we're so all over the place and we still have no idea what conclusion we're supposed to come to based in regards to this subject. Like, I have no idea what we're talking about. Fetishization of black men, the how women are seen as not powerful, or how femininity is seen as inherently sexual and also depowering at the same time, or like because all of that is like packed in this video, and like though, and that's nothing. It's not wrong to talk about all of these things, but like they talk they talk about these things in the same video, which is not on its own a bad idea. But the examples that they come to, and not just that, him editing in all of these everyone talking about this stuff, like all of the guests that are talking about the subject in this video, It is so fucking sloppy to the point where I don't know what the conclusion is. What am I supposed to think? What is the opinion being espoused here? I despise video essays like this. Like, it's so poorly organized. It's so fucking all over the place. I don't know what the overarching point is. It is a mess. That is the best way to describe it. It is a complete mess, and I don't know what to make of it.
Utter the word goonie without referring to the giggly goon clown who hosted a hub for fetishes. Most applicable in this case, the Black New World Order. No, this.
Okay, let me just say this. The only consistent point that's throughout this entire video is femininity and porn, but I still don't know what the fucking conclusion is. And also fetishization of black men is also God, how are we gonna tie these together or no? Whatever.
This is not a bad fetish, where folks who subscribe to this kink deify blackness, specifically black men, by denigrating white people. Typically self-declared cis white mandem who acknowledge this myth that black men are pinnacles of masculinity, and by masculinity I really mean a travesty of manhood insofar as simply being puissant, always open for business, and built like the Secretariat. And in this acknowledgement, coming to the realization that they ought not even insult the masculine race by claiming to be a part of it as a white man, and just transition into a woman so that the human race is devoid of cis white mandem. It's this discussion of eradicating the white race by denying white men, denying cis white men the privilege of coitus, only be breeding.
Oh yeah.
Which is an awful word with awful connotations, reserved normally for animals. Only being black bread.
Not talking pumpernickel.
We're not talking pumpernickel.
These are trans women.
It's like normally anime profile pic on Twitter.
Oh dear, that could be us. You know the galaxy brain meme? This is what I'm picturing. Level 1.
I have an anime profile pic on Twitter. Well, I'm superior to all you fucking anime profile pic fucks out there. You want to know how I'm superior to all of you? Because I made it. I made my own anime profile picture. I am leagues beyond you fucking goddamn peasants. You will grovel at my feet. You're all beneath me, below me. You are swine compared to me. I am your queen. I am your monarch. You will worship me, and I will rule over you with my iron fist. Okay, I'm done.
Take. White genocide is not gonna happen. It's not real. Level 2 take. White genocide is real. Level 3 take. Just absolutely exploding out of my head. White genocide is real and it's good and I'm horny for it. I want to know how you're hanging out in these spaces that take the idea of...
Oh god, now we're talking about white genocide? Okay.
White genocide or great replacement remotely seriously, but then also managing to like be into it. Men like weakening themselves by becoming more feminine, but also like by submitting to black men is such a weird situation that again like clearly reveals a lot about how they think about the world. Could a part of it be like an unprocessed white guilt? I wonder if this thing is maybe a way to like unclaim whiteness and all like the historical horrors that have come along with that.
Ooh, you cooking. Ooh, that's dark. So white genocide, almost like in the palingenic, like rebirth. This is just so bred to palingenic rebirth of whiteness in this like almost inverted Nazism, where like let's enjoy killing off ourselves because what we did was so wrong. There's no way about it. So let's just surrender to black folks.
And of course, it doesn't come from like a genuine anti-racism, right? It's not actually about any of this stuff is bad or like we should do anything about it for real. The same way that
is a thing that exists. And we're talking about this thing that exists in this video. That is the point. That's 100% of what this video is. This is a thing that exists in society. It is bad. And that's it.
Forced feminization could be like a way of escaping the power of masculinity and like the possible like psychic guilt that comes with that. I wonder if this like white genocide kink could be like escaping the uncomfortable truth of like what whiteness is.
I told you, this was gonna get dark. No pun intended. The giggly going clown is as sad as it is projectile vomit inducing. And it serves as an avatar for what is the racial forced feminization fetish, where an alternative take on this would be that these cis white mandem are so self-loathing of their station in life, being one of privilege and unreachable patriarchal masculinity, that they feel the weight of whiteness. Let's get charitable for a second. Let's get nuanced. The burden. They feel the burden of their ancestors, and they desperately want to start over again in some palindromic rebirth of whiteness, if rebirth at all. This community literally fetishize their demise, giving the guise of a progressive politique, but truly being just as if not more racist than their overt counterparts, the conservatives. Not to say that these are mutually exclusive. A lot of the people that actually consume a lot of this content are conservatives on the low. Folks in progressive communities may be misguided in consuming this content, which is inherently putting blackness down by holding it too high.
A lot of these people are genuinely racist. There are probably some people who kind of get off on it and maybe do have left-leaning politics or whatever, but like I'm going to be real, even those people are probably racist, right? The very context.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if I like the idea of lending credence to this hypothetical where, and that's what it is. It's hypothetical, where like white men are like feel so guilty or whatever that like they get off to depowering themselves in such a way where they're either become femboys or trans women. I don't like doing that. Just let people embrace femininity in whatever fucking way they want. I mean, can people embrace it in toxic ways? Yeah, sure, they can. I don't understand why it's such a big deal that it's worth talking about, though. And the problem that I get is they're talking about very real issues in context with that particular subject, to the point where it's like we run the risk of conflating genuine problems like the fetishization of femininity and the fetishization of black men with white male people becoming trans or femboys. I don't like the idea of conflating those two things and like tethering those two things to each other, because no.
Of bull, right? Which is the term that you would use to describe a man who is entering into a relationship in order to pleasure the wife, right? That is the bull, right? Same term that we used for black men when we were breeding slaves, right? Same exact term. And a lot of this does map very neatly onto that, right? And my experience with people who project race play onto me non-consensually, if I tell them that I don't want it, that is often when they get racist.
By rendering me omnipotent, you strip me of my humanity. By making me God, you deny me human. The biggest irony of this situation is the political affiliation of the participants. Logic would have you assume that it's the BLM marching, all cops bastards chanting, self-serving neoliberals that engage the most with this kink. But their community is full of centrists and right-wing conservatives. We all know that they're kinky lips, but there are at least some subtlety. When hearing about the subject of this video, a black male colleague reached out to impart some of his knowledge. So how'd you get involved with the kink community?
I had no idea this kink existed before I received a few very graphic emails about what the sender wanted me to do to them.
Tell me how the dynamic works.
Well, it's wild. First you receive a DM or two, maybe a passing comment on a pig. But the problems don't start unless you engage with them. In that case, shit, be down to clown or be prepared to block them and fast.
Is that bad?
Bruh, okay, so I did a bit of SW in college. You know, gotta pay that tuition somehow, and it actually started with one of these messages. I hop on, read the message, some nonsense about what he wants to do to me and generosity. Now, man's been eating nothing but apples and ramen for 6 months. That generosity piqued my interest, so I responded, and at first it was flattering. I felt powerful, sexy, coveted, but then the language starts to slip. It began with a little self-degradation like, I'll never be as strong, sexy as you know. Then the reasons why he felt he couldn't meet the standards he set for himself. It wasn't just like a submissive kink, it was praise of my form. The same on the got stopped and frisked the week before. The same body that gets asked, are you on the football team, by every doe-eyed darling who wants to ride on the wild side.
What'd you do?
I got paid. I mean, I don't like it. It makes me feel like an animal, like my strength and stature are all I have to offer. It pissed me off whenever I let it slip that I was a graduate student and clients were shocked I could use multiple syllable phrases.
I thought they'd be ever praising, given the penchant for idealizing the black form.
Yeah, well, that's my form, not my mind. And whenever has a conservative cared about a black man's mind?
Wait, so it's conservatives that hired you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a liberal client or two, but the majority, like over 90%, were old dudes with MAGA stickers and don't trend on my t-shirts.
Yeah. Sounds about right. True. Yeah. All right. I guess that's just fetishizing black people, actually, not sissification of white men. Whatever.
The type of guys that voted for Trump twice. I think it's the lack of experience that makes the kink more appealing, you know? Like, the only reference they have for black people is what they see on TV. And what's on TV that looks like me? Hyper-violence and sexuality. So I'm paid to be the sex machine, the black man's revenge, feeding into the stereotypes of insatiable sexual appetites and desires.
Damn.
Facts. It had its perks though.
How so?
Well, it paid well, and making a Republican shout Black Lives Matter was kind of funny.
Imagine receiving the message, I want you to be my daddy, or some variation of that sentence. You firmly, but politely, turn down the proposition, only for them to become insistent. And I mean really insistent. So you block them and move on with your day. Later, you recount the story to your friends, expecting a shocked reaction, and for the most part you do, but you notice that there's one face who isn't laughing. That night, you get a message saying, yeah, bro, it's weird out there. You don't know the half of it.
Why can't this video be called the fetishization of minorities? And even then, if it was called that, why are we including white men embracing some form of like femininity, like wearing dress and makeup and shit in that? Or like the one excerpt where this person was talking about how like they'll watch and goon to a lot of porn, and they self-discovered their own gender identity and or sexuality. Like, why did we include that in there in this particular subject? Plus quite a few weird things about like where white men embrace being submissive or feminine because that's just how they like it, and not really much else. We're doing a lot of conflating, a lot of vagueness, a lot of whatevers.
Unfortunately, the internet helps to facilitate these ideas. As users congregate in similar groups, subcultures are created over the shared interests. Sexual orientation doesn't matter. And with gender identity, well, let's just say some of these incels enjoy cosplaying as trans and call themselves goofy gooners. You see, this is the problem. What does that mean? Who's cosplay?
are they embracing their femininity and just being femboys, or are they quote unquote cosplaying as trans women? How the fuck do you cosplay as it? Well, there are people who do that mockingly, and you see them do that, but like the ones that I see that are intentionally mocking are like these obviously big, hairy, muscular dudes on YouTube wearing intentionally really bad makeup and find the worst wigs that they can find on like at like Walmart or something and put that on and to make a YouTube video like making fun of trans women and like being like the most obnoxious, disgusting human being on that YouTube video and pretending that that's an example of what trans women are, when in reality that's not. And like some of the examples that I've seen him put on this video are not that, but it's just like it's like pasty pale white dudes wearing like booty shorts and whatnot, and just it generally just looking super cute. That's just looking cute. That's it. That's an example of pretending to be of fetishizing trans women. Or you see where the vagueness becomes a problem, because I don't have an example in this video of what he's talking about. I don't have a good one. The only examples he provided are just cute femboys. That's not bad. It's not pretending to be a trans woman. And if those people were, where are there videos of them mocking trans? Are there other accounts? Are there like femboy accounts just like mocking trans? And of course there are, but he didn't provide those in his video, so and they're so few and far in between that it's like it's not even like really an issue worth talking about anyway.
Misogynist, and always racist as hell. Let's not forget that. It ought be no surprise that inceldom is a neighboring country to communities such as the racialized. See this right here. What the fuck? You know, I was an incel before I like came out as trans. My black ass, like full on just like incel dumb fuck, and then embracing like femininity and coming to the conclusion that I was most likely trans, and I feel more secure in my own identity that way. It's like this is just weird shit right here. Is this a bad thing? What's wrong with this? Submissive, virgin, low testosterone, short. Girls, I hate them. Unpopular women, fat, skinny, blah, blah, blah. And then they go from that to no longer a virgin, submissive, low testosterone, short. Guys, I love them. Popular with men, skinny or fat. Is this bad? Fetish, PNWO, and places that not even incognito on Chrome can save your soul from. These are the homes for human depravity, where hope of humanity goes to die. But simultaneously, a parade of self-exploration for folks that are denied maps to their souls by society. I do not begrudge the Gooner, the BBC addict, or the bleeding heart liberal that hurls racial epithets when I don't show up in the way that they want me to.
That's a lot of different. That's a lot of different people that were putting under one umbrella. That's very weird.
Aim squarely at these institutions that this channel is dedicated to dismantling. Much like my last video, Incels, the next video may start with the cure.
Why are we attributing that to white supremacist institutions, though? Like, white men discovering themselves and embracing femininity, is that a bad thing? Really? Why are we lending that to bad institutions in our society? Even if these bad institutions lead to in my opinion, a positive consequence, which is people embracing themselves. And that's even saying that is far-fetched. How the fuck does that happen? It's so vague. I don't understand.
This case of curry sex, as we went into the world of Indian anti-blackness, assisted by talented creators and enough trauma that'll make BetterHelp close down due to overwhelming clientele capacity when they instead should be closing down for other reasons. I digress. You could imagine the places that this research took my incognito browser. My lord, I would have been being served unwanted ads and my data would have probably been leaked onto Kiwi if it wasn't for my favorite condom for my Chrome browser, NordVPN.
Alright,
The
we
real-
are done. So in conclusion, there is no conclusion. Like, literally, I have no conclusion to come to. No worries past me. I got this covered. Yeah, this video, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna be blunt with you. This video is garbage. It's complete trash. It is utter trash. Like, there's like, again, like, I thought I was going crazy watching through the video the first time, but like, upon second viewing, my original statement remains true. This video is a complete sloppy mess, and it honestly, it is ADHD bait. Like, it is so all over the place. The editing is just like, it's a complete mess. It is edited strategically, but it is also strategically messy. It is so bad. And I'm just talking about the editing right now. Like, as for the points and the content in the video, that is also just as sloppy and messy as the editing. My god, like, okay, where do I begin with this? To start off, there is no thesis. There's just no thesis. Usually when you're watching a video essay, there is a thesis, and you can actually make out that thesis. I watch Big Joel, and I watch video essayists like I'm trying to think of his name. Jesus. H-Bomb, who also makes really good video essays, and a litany of video essayists that make amazing content. But 90% of their videos are engaging because they actually have a thesis to pretty much all the content that they put out. There's a point behind it. H-Bomb's recent video was pretty much about plagiarism, and the subject was one particular YouTuber. Very good video, well made, well crafted, very good points made within that video. I can't say that about Four Man's video, and that's a goddamn shame too, because he's one of the biggest black video essayists on YouTube right now. And he keeps making videos like this. How can you follow stuff like this? You can't. You literally can't, because the editing is sloppy and the subject is sloppy as well. There is no point. Like, what are we talking about? The sissification of white men? What is that? What does that mean? It unintentionally lends credence to transphobic talking points. Like, unironically. Like, the consistent thing though that's being brought up in the video is feminization. Which, I'm sorry, to be honest with you, whether it's being informed by some misogyny or not, it doesn't matter. You should be allowed to explore femininity no matter what is being informed by. Feminizing yourself is not a bad thing inherently. Whether you're just being a femboy or just exploring it just cross dress, being a drag queen, or you're a trans woman deep down inside, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, talking about the subject is like, it's pointless. It is a disgusting thing to talk about for a leftist content creator. And furthermore, the people that he interviewed further sloppifies the sloppiness in this video. Why? Because let's be real. There's no context in all of those interviews. Like, I would love to see the full unedited interviews without being cut and edited and forced into this, whatever this content is. Because you saw earlier how Foreign Man literally cut off one of the other people, the other person that he was interviewing, and I was desperate to find out what that person was going to elaborate on, but like, apparently that wasn't important enough for the vague point that Foreign Man wanted to get to, which was nothing. It was essentially nothing. It was a nothing point. It was just talking about nothing, really. Like the only consistent point that you can come to is that, like, feminizing yourself is bad, and also throwing in there like the fetishization of black men, which has nothing to do with the subject matter that was being brought up in like the first half of the video and like even the latter portion of the video. It's such a gigantic sloppy mess that lends credence to transphobic talking points. And I'm sorry, but like, we can do we can do better without videos like this. It is so bad. It is astronomically bad. One of the worst videos I've ever laid eyes on. And it is one of the worst videos anyone has the displeasure of attempting to comprehend, because it is just, again, it is so all over the place and it's such a gigantic mess that I'm sorry. We can do without shit like this. I don't want to make a habit of like criticizing other lefty content creators or just like left-wing content in general, but like I feel like that shit like this just has to be ripped into and broken down, because the left can do better than this. We can create better content than this. Especially black content creators can do better than this. Like, my god, dude, stop. You don't watch foreign man. Watch me instead. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be. I'm gonna be a show. Watch my shit instead. I'm better. I'm worlds better. Fuck off. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that's it. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Nice to see you again.
Mario, I got tested,
Way to go.
and my test results came up positive.
Congratulations.
I have HIV.
Mamma
I
mia.
have the virus, and I don't know what we're gonna do.
Pizza the heck out of me. Good luck.